Before you go swimming, make sure to stretch, otherwise you'll get cramps, and then you're not gonna be able to get back to shore. It's Logany 777.
Good morning, it's Saturday. No French Fridays here. I've got too many Fridays in my week. Thursdays and Fridays are Saturdays, and who knows what's going on anymore. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about making friendships abroad. Adult friendships are tricky, as you might know. If you're an adult, if you're younger, if you're in college, enjoy the ease of making friendships that are forced together by classes and dorms and apartment complexes and partying, because it won't last forever. Now, that said, making friendships as adults kind of comes and goes in waves, is easier or more difficult depending on your personality, where in the world you are. If you're a cowboy, by definition, friendships are just gonna be harder to make because it's a lonely life. That's why cowboys are cowboys. They just have lonely lives, thinking about that not in town. But of course, if you're in a much more social job like tour guiding, last year provided a lot of opportunities for friendship, both within the tour guiding community and within like just meeting tourists all the time coming through town. It was great. You could meet a lot of people that way. Professions on either end of the spectrum can help, and so can locations, places to hang out. So thought I'd talk a little bit about that today. I also am trying to just make a super simple video today because yesterday's video caused me to stutter today, and it's much, there's a lot. I'm tired. I just woke up. It's like 12:30, and I woke up that afternoon. Which is good because I've been needing to sleep, but that should also hopefully, I don't know, hopefully that helps you to understand why I'm not able to string a full sentence together. So I'm gonna walk and talk today just to keep things moving around so you're not just seeing white walls and subscription boxes. But it's gonna be a simple one, and I'm gonna be done singing now. Time. Time is your #1 most valuable resource, and unfortunately, it's the most required component of making friendships as an adult. When you're a kid, you get thrown into a classroom and all of a sudden you're just like sitting next to some other kid eating paste, and you're just like, "You wanna be my friend?" And they're like, "Yeah," and that's it. Like, it's done. You've got friends. That does not work as an adult. Eating paste also does not help you make friends as an adult. But time is hugely necessary. I've been back in Paris 1.5 years today. Like, as of September 1st, I've been back in Paris for 1.5 years, and I'm only just now really starting to feel established here. Like, really starting to feel like I have some good friendships forming, have some good routines, some great places, all of that. Like, it's taken me 1.5 years very actively being here, putting in a lot of effort to start feeling like this is home in more ways than one or two. You know, I had friendships that I poured months into the last time I lived in Paris. Like, it took me 6 months to get into the circle of French friends that I had last time I lived here, of just like persistently being available, checking in, trying not to be annoying, but also trying to make sure that they know that I want to hang out, like spending time with them. And it took so long to actually really feel like I was part of that group. And I left for a few years. By the time I came back, a lot of them had moved on. Relationships broken up, bands, like things had just changed. And when I came back, they didn't really hang out together anymore. And that whole environment that had been one of the things that made my time in Paris last time so amazing was no longer available to me, and I had to start over from scratch on that front. It's also why I don't have as many French friends right now, is because like all my French friends are a little bit scattered. I see them from time to time, kind of rarely, which brings me to probably a #2 component, which is language. Language and culture are bridges. It's easier to make friends with a Brit than it is to make friends with a French person, just naturally. If you're learning French, you have like some natural bonds right there just because you're trying to learn someone's language. You have a lot of questions to ask them, you have a lot to learn from them, but you're not gonna share as many easy jokes, you're not gonna share as many easy cultural references because you grew up watching different stuff, seeing different movies, watching different TV, listening to different music, reading different books. So that's actually a really large component of it. I'm not saying you shouldn't try, you should absolutely try, but if you want to move to a country that they don't speak English, you need to try to learn to speak the language, or making friends is going to be really, really difficult. And really everything is going to be way more difficult if you don't speak the language of the country you live in. It's just try to learn the language. More on that in a second. That said, making friendships within your own language is going to be much easier up front. So if you can find places where people that speak English, because I'm assuming you speak English if you're watching this, and if you can find places where people speak English, whatever language you're speaking, whether that's coffee shops, beer places, because, you know, we like beer as Anglophones, not all of us, but it's a fairly Anglophone thing sometimes. Board game places, bookstores, whatever it is that interests you. It's kind of like, how would you make friends if you're at home, if you're in a new city at home? And granted, that might be part of why you're here, is to have moved to another city in your home country, but common interests are definitely a key component, and a common language is what ties that all together, like very, very much so. So if you've got time and language, common interests, I was kind of wrapping up into that, but like coming to a coffee shop regularly where you've got some friends and then spending some time there and making friends over time really helps to have just like a regular spot to go.
Talking about kids, here's one. I'm a kid.
Ran into lots of friends while I was there. That was a very social hour. It's so nice. Such a good day. Lots of good news going on. This is a short aside from the overall theme of the whole video today. Apparently, the bed store did receive and cash my landlady's check, but somebody didn't tell the guy who's working with my account, so now we gotta figure that out, hunt down whoever cashed the check, and, you know, maybe get my bed started. The saga continues, but at least hopefully that's good news. It should be good news, and we're on our way, but it's still gonna take them like 2 months to build it once they finally finalize everything. So there's that. But this goes back to, again, time and proximity, like friendship. One of the key components to friendship, if you're, I mean, everyone's aware of this, I think, but is proximity, like being around, being available, having time for people, making time for people, and generosity. And I guess I should make that my fourth point, I think, is giving more than you expect to get back. In general, you can't expect anyone to ever be your friend. Like, you can't hold that over or against anybody. Naturally, that grows over time. And there comes a point in any relationship where you do begin to have expectations and you do have effectively relational rights with somebody. But it doesn't start there and it doesn't get there for a long time. The way that I see it is that you want to always be giving more than you expect to receive, as best you can. And I've messed up on this plenty myself. I'm not a saint. I'm not perfect at this. But if you can be giving of your time, your resources, your energy, if you can be the one that's always giving, you'll see the people that give back. And ultimately, friendships, good friendships are ones that are 50-50, right? That are 100-100, I guess you should say. Where you're giving, they're giving, and it's healthy and virtuous. A virtuous cycle, it's a good thing. But if you're not willing to step out and be generous yourself, it's gonna be a lot harder to find those generous people who are willing to stick around and be generous towards you as well. It goes both ways. So give of yourself, don't expect to receive, but do gravitate towards those people who give back, because those are keepers. Those are the really good friends, and you want to keep those around.
I just had multiple phone calls with the bed company. Mildly frustrating, but I think we're getting it figured out. They basically were like, are you sure she wrote the name of the store on the check? Because if she didn't say who the check was for, anyone could have cashed it. I was like, are you serious? You think my landlady just sent a blank check? Come on. Anyways, excuses aside, I think we've made progress. They're gonna go find it. I gave them some hints on how to find money in their own books. I don't know why. Generosity, speaking of money, is not just about money. Just in case, just to reiterate this point, one of the best ways you can be generous and one of the best ways to make friends anywhere is to ask questions and listen. Like, to be a good listener, it's hard. But one of the best ways that you can actually engender goodwill, and this is coming from a talker. I realize I'm a talker. I probably have friends watching this right now, warming up on the keyboards. I'm a talker, but I try to work really hard to be a good listener. I'm not always the best at it, and I make that effort because I think one of the best ways that we can show a sense of generosity and show a genuine sense of interest is to listen to other people and to take the time to just hear them. And I'm in a position, I'm in a weird spot. Tomorrow I'm gonna actually talk about this a little bit because I've been thinking about it, and we've talked about it before, and I wanna keep the conversation ongoing. But as I continue to meet more and more fans, like on the street or in the coffee shop or just kind of around Paris, on the metro, whatever, met Jill today. Very nice to meet you, Jill. There's a level of inability for me to keep everything straight. Like, I have an increasing number of people leaving comments, emails, messages, everything. And I want to be there and I want to be engaged as best I can, but it does get pretty difficult to keep everything straight, keep all the faces and places and times and ways that I know people straight. And so kind of the way that I try to overcome that is just to make sure that in the moment, even if I can't necessarily place somebody or I don't remember an interaction, whatever, that I'm there right then in that moment, and that I'm listening and that I'm engaged, and I just try to be with the person then. Because if they walk away and I never see them again, that's okay. I just want to try and make sure that in that moment that they're seen and listened to and heard. And that's a gift that you can do your best to try and give anybody, anywhere, but it's a bedrock of friendship. It really is a bedrock of friendship, is mutual understanding and listening. And so that translates across all barriers, whether it's language or culture, location, anything. Taking the time to give of yourself to somebody else is a huge thing that you can definitely do anywhere to improve your friendships or to improve your likelihood of making new friends. Making friends is kind of tough. If you're in Paris and you're trying to make friends, or you're in a European city, again, start with the expat community, find other people from wherever it is you're from, and try to build friendships there, because they're going to be a little bit easier to build. You're having a shared experience there. You have all the shared experience behind you. It's a lot easier to make friends with other people. Like, for me, it's very easy to make friends with other Americans compared to making friends with people from a culture where I don't even speak the language. And that can serve as a bedrock. That can give you some stability, that can give you a sense of community in an area where maybe you don't have that feeling to begin with. And then out of that, do continue to build friendships with other international people, with other local people. As those opportunities come, don't try to force it. Don't try to push it. You can really sense when somebody's trying to force the issue and they're trying to be your friend and it's really not working. So just try to let them happen naturally over time. Let the familiarity grow, let the opportunities to talk and get to know people grow, and eventually you'll have friends. It just kind of works over time. But you have to give yourself a minimum of 6 months before you expect to see anything happening. Don't beat yourself up. And then even then, it's still gonna take a long time to develop. Friendships take a lot of time. Genuine friendships, healthy relationships take a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of investment before they really go anywhere. And you can't shortcut that. So don't try to. That's how I see it, at least. That's my view on it. That's my take on it. You don't have to agree with me, but I've been asked a lot in the last couple of months. I've been asked a lot over the last year about making friendships, and I think that's where I would land on that. Speaking of friendships, Peach update. I'm putting it at the end of a video because I just want to talk about it ever. But Peach definitely did not make it, unless it was another pigeon that I found the other day. And I'm sorry to report that. It's actually kind of sad. And we were talking about it. The neighbor and I were talking about it. It's like it's really sad. Like it's like this one of these things where it's like on the one hand it's a pigeon. It's just a pigeon. But then you start thinking, like I was thinking about, we were watching Peach walk around a little bit, and I was thinking like, you know, just like an hour ago, this little guy was flying around free as a bird, literally. That was not an intended pun. Having a grand time, and then just boom, it's all changed, it's all over. And you can't help but stop and think about how life is fragile, and that could happen to any of us, pigeon or human, or anything in between. So unfortunately, I think there's some cats in the neighborhood, and I think one of them got to Peach. I don't know for sure, but I found feathers, and yeah, I was trying to feed him. I brought some bread back for him, and I was looking for him, and that's how I found him. So anyways, for those of you worried about Peach, that's the end of that story. For those of you who are warming up your keyboards now to rip me a new one for not taking good enough care of him, we did literally the most we could have done. I guess we could have built him his own flying apparatus and created a new life for him and given him gene therapy and all kinds of things to get him back on the road, but we tried. So yeah, sorry, we tried and it didn't work out. And anyways, downer note to end on that, but hopefully you make friends and you can bond with your neighbors over pigeon incidents as well. It's a tragic way to bond, but it's, bonding moments. Anywho, I'll end that there, and I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning for discussions about the changes of life. And I'm just going to kind of do another sit down talk video so I can chill before the madness that's going to ensue for the next couple of weeks. My life is changing a lot and very rapidly and mostly good ways. And I want to keep the dialogue about the reality of what that looks like open and running. And yeah, that'll be it. See you tomorrow morning.